I'm here with Aaron of Red Fang to talk about their Deep Cuts record that comes out March 14th on Relapse Records. And you guys said no lies in the title of that album. This is a very deep cut.
Yeah, for sure. It goes back years and years, and it goes into we dive into the recesses of me and Brian's hard drives to find some of the rarest moments that maybe you could find in on a Red Fang recording.
So let me ask you this. How much beer and weed was consumed while making some of these songs? Or maybe all of them?
I think it was all gone by the end.
The question is not, it's all gone by the end. The question is with how much did you start?
Right, right. Good point. Good point. Lots.
Because that is the important question. We know it would be all over by the end, but it all comes down to what was the starting point? A lot, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. Yes, for sure it was.
I love the fact that you guys are celebrating the 20 years of the band with an album like this instead of doing just the greatest hits, which is what some bands do, or doing a live album, which is also what some bands do. I find for a fan standpoint, this is a great way of having all of these songs that were out there in the ether all over the place now under just one single roof. Was that the mindset?
It was that, and it was also because we included a bunch of the covers and sort of uh, the raw versions of, so like there's that demo version of Wires, the sort of first complete um, structural representation of what that song was going to be like, and then some of the just wacky ideas that Brian and I have and record in, late night sessions in our basement to give more of a view into what the components are that end up all adding summing together to make a Red Fang song that people are used to hearing. So to give more of an breaking apart all the component pieces of what makes Red Fang what it is.
In all honesty, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you, when I saw Ice Ice Baby on the track listing, I actually thought that was going to be a cover.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure
I'm
others thought the same. Did you ever consider doing a cover?
no, absolutely not. I'm not sure. Brian likes to pick song titles for his demos that oftentimes are either songs that already exist, or we both do this. We'll just name the songs after whatever band we thought the that song sounded like. So yeah, I was a little surprised to see that and that he wanted to stick with it, but I think it's, it catches your eye, so let's go for it.
Yeah, it definitely caught mine. You guys, like I said, you have a very extensive discography, 20 years of the band. I mean, I feel like you guys are such an iconic presence, not just in the world of rock, metal, but specifically when it comes to Portland and the metal scene in Portland. Do you guys see yourselves as an active voice of what that scene is?
I would say that I don't know that we ever really felt like a voice of Portland. I feel like when we first started uh, playing shows around Portland, that we were kind of an oddball musically, because it was, I don't know, 2005, 6 ish. And that was kind of still at the moment where a lot more like pop music and indie rock was a lot more prevalent in the town. And so it was more like a reference to the Portland that I knew when I first moved there in 91, like going to shows basically 91 to 97, 98, just lots and lots of really good rock bands that nobody had heard of. And so I felt like we were kind of representing the past of Portland. Um, and then once we kind of got rolling, it felt like we were more a part of the world, world music, not world music, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the music scene of the entire world and not really necessarily Portland. So I always considered myself a Portlander, although I haven't lived there since 2020 now. Um, but it's deeply ingrained into my being because I moved there when I was 17 years old. So, and was stayed there till my late 40s. So,
So yeah, that has a very deep impact. That doesn't matter where you move to afterwards, you're always going to have that piece
Right.
of you, that piece of Portland with you. When you look
Yep.
back at the 20 years of the band, is there something specific that you're most proud of, or that you could define as a defining moment?
Uh, well, the thing that I think I'm most proud of is that we never really strayed from our personal, I wouldn't say goal, but just what we were all sort of determined to do was just write music that we all believed in, and to not really compromise on the songwriting side for anything really. You know, that we weren't going to try to rush recordings, and we weren't going to try to uh, appease some unknown entity when we were writing songs. It was always just like, what do we all like, and what can we all agree represents each of us individually and as a group. So that's kind of like that's the most important thing to me, really. And I'm glad. I feel like we did a pretty good job of accomplishing that.
I want to go back actually to the point because it's been resonating with me. The point that you said before that when the band started, you guys were a little bit of the oddball in that scene there. Would it have been easier for Red Fang if you guys were starting off now, considering the sound, considering the landscape, considering what people are listening to these days?
Uh, that's very hard to answer. I mean, the fact that we got any kind of traction at all is something that I have no idea how to, what to attribute to, aside from just luck. And part of luck is a big part of luck is timing. And so it's quite possible that because we happened when we did in the Portland scene as it was, that actually made it easier for us. You know, it might be harder because there's so much more saturation now, but I don't know. It's hard to know.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
If you had to be, if you were going to end up getting stuck in a desert island and you can keep only one Red Fang record, which one would you take with you?
Oh man, that's actually kind of tricky. Huh. Um, I might have to take the first one, which almost kind of doesn't even count as an album because it was two EPs that we just like recorded and put out ourselves that then got glued together as an album. But it just kind of captures this mood, and I can hear so much more of, like I can hear that little broom closet where we recorded the vocals, and it just has this sort of like, maybe nostalgic feel to it that brings me back to a time and place in my life that the other ones don't do on the same level. But I still like musically love all of them, of course.
So now jumping to this deep cuts, there's a lot of tracks, 26 tracks if I'm not mistaken in total. The record is about an hour and a half. Did you guys leave anything out, or is this everything that you guys scrunched out of those hard drives?
Oh no, there's definitely lots of stuff that we didn't include. We made decisions about which covers to put in there because there's a lot more covers that we did. There's a few outtakes that were maybe like a little bit more available. Um, it's interesting living in this time where it seems like you can just go into YouTube or whatever streaming something and find almost any kind of track from any band from any era. Uh, but to realize that there's certain tracks that when I look for them of our own, that they're not even on YouTube, or there's no place to find them. So uh, it was more important. We were trying to focus more on that kind of stuff, but there's also a ton more demo style tracks, either ones that we made at the practice space that didn't really go anywhere, or that Brian or I made in our basements. There's a couple songs of David's where he's just messing around on guitar with a bunch of guitar effects that I thought were super cool, but they sound more like interludes, and so we just ran out of time, and we didn't want to do a 4 record set.
But this leaves the door open for the 40-year anniversary for another Deep Cuts Part 2.
All right, yeah, exactly. Lacerations.
Yeah, the final thoughts, because I mean, another 20 years from now, all of us will be much older than what we are right now, but still listening to Red Fang nevertheless. And the material is already there, so it's not like you have to record it or whatever. You just have to kind of compile it. So just keep that in mind. That material, don't throw it away. Keep those hard drives. Keep them
Yeah.
fresh. Keep them nice, because you might need that material at some point down the road.
All right. Yeah. I appreciate it.
As a bass player, how do you view your role in the overall sound of the band?
Well, I started out actually playing guitar. So when it was just me and John and David, David and I were both playing guitar.
Sure.
And I was sort of, I'll admit, I was pretty grumpy at the time to switch over to bass because I hadn't played guitar in a band in so long. I'd only been playing, I'd been playing bass a bunch. Uh, and so I kind of thought of the bass more in terms of just another guitar, just lower. And so I um, played with a bunch of distortion and played a bunch of chords and just played as sort of the same sort of things that I would play on guitar, but maybe slightly simplified. And so I always thought of it more of like, um, more of like a fuck you, I'm not playing bass approach. Uh, but then as time went on, I actually started to really appreciate how much more freedom it gave me to I could lock in a lot more with the drums without having to worry about having these sort of like flashy little bits that disconnect from the rest of the band. Not in a bad way. I mean, there's something good about stuff that can float around and have the foundation that still lives there. Being part of the foundation was really fun, but then it was also just an accident of the equipment that we had that we all used the same amps, so we have very similar sounds, and so it really feels like the bass is uh uh the get lower guitar that locks the drums to the bass rhythmically and also like very much tonally, since we all have very similar tones with just like small variations, so it all blends together really well.
And that's very noticeable on this record, on these deep cuts, the way the bass comes in and the impact that it has in the sound, and how it doesn't feel as segregated from the guitars. It's just a fuzzier guitar, if you will, like a lower, fuzzier guitar, which I really like, because I think that's part of the DNA of the band that we've come to appreciate and listen to. And the other thing about these deep cuts is that I don't know if this was the intention with it, but I almost felt like you guys were just jamming in a garage. It had that live feel, like, let's not worry about playing perfect. Let's just jam these songs, and that's the vibe. And I really enjoy that, because it allows the record to feel almost like a live studio album, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's part of getting back to that what I was saying earlier about trying to give more of a glimpse into what it is that what the component parts are, that sort of the mechanics of how the more polished final versions of Red Fang songs happen. Because I mean, in honesty, uh it's been a little bit of a mystery to us how it is that it's again luck and timing, just that the four of us happen to all get together and our styles and personalities happen to mesh in such a way that the final results were more than any of us would have expected, given our individual preferences and talents, or lack of talents or whatever. Uh, and so it's all, in some ways it's like a self-satisfying record for to be able to look at it, as an observer, like, oh, okay, this is, oh, now I actually see a thing that I never really understood before about what it is that John does that makes these other parts work in a way that I just never really thought about or understood before.
One of my favorite tracks on the record is Suicide, the Dust cover. Do you have a favorite? By the way, amazing job with that cover. Do you have a favorite track on this deep cut?
Um, I think that maybe my favorite track might be the It's called Weird Polly. Um, and it's a one of those sort of like home demo ish things that Brian made up. I think he and John just went to the practice space and he just captured John playing some drums like on his phone or something, and then took it home and came up with a guitar part and keyboard part that I don't think were they didn't line up uh like the time signatures are different. And then I really liked the way it felt, and then I was like really wanted to just figure out how to make a bass part that uh sort of same thing that I was talking about before, but this time rhythmically kind of tied together the two different time signatures and kind of sat in between them. I don't think I quite did it the way that I heard it in my head, but I still just I really love the way that all those parts work together. Uh, and that one is one where you can, to my ear at least, hear the process of us putting together like how the hell are they going to get that drum part that's in this time signature and that guitar. You can kind of hear more because it's broken apart a little bit more the way that it's recorded, the three different components all working together before they've gotten mooshed into like a homogenized red fang milkshake.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most textured ones because you're really able to break it. Like you could see the different pieces a lot better defined than in some of the other songs where everything it's a little bit more of a canvas and everything is just intertwined. I think that track, for me at least, that's what I took away from it as well. It felt different from that standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. But then as far as like some my maybe my favorite track actually, and now correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that through by No Talent. Yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
record. And that's like uh I love that track, and it's just this very weird, hard to find single track on this compilation called A Slice of Lemon. Um, and what I loved, I mean, I love the track to begin with, but then once we'd recorded it and put it out on the initial like little covers EP that we did way back when, we ended up getting contacted by the guys from that band, and it was just like a fun, you know, nobody knew who they were, where they were, or whatever happened to them. And then us just doing that was like, oh, now we can actually talk to these guys and get a little bit more information and connect with them as people. So that was just satisfying on that level as
For a
well.
minute there, I thought you were going to tell me that they contacted you about copyright issues. But
Oh, no, they're happy. I mean, same thing with we did a Cherubs cover, which I was totally shocked that they got in touch with us too, and ended up like I've met the bass player. He's come out to a couple shows, and then it feels like that somehow I don't want to take any credit really, but that us doing that cover helped sort of get them back together, and they recorded another album and have done some tours and stuff. And so any sort of like anything that I can do to help uh increase people's appreciation for really great bands that maybe were lesser known, I'm very happy to be able to do that with even the small amount of like attention that people pay to our band. If we can direct that to the bands that inspired us, that makes me very, very happy.
and on this deep cuts with the covers that you guys did, you definitely will do that because I was going through them and I'm like, I haven't heard half of these original songs. So in
Yeah.
order for me to appreciate the cover, I had to go back and listen to the original song. Otherwise I'm just listening to a brand new song altogether and I have no sense of direction in terms of where this is going or not. So you definitely do that. You're forcing people to go and listen to the original material if they never heard it, and then come back to deep cuts and listen to the cover.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate hearing that, because that is what we're hoping to do. I mean, and actually, like in the case of Suicide, um, I had never heard of Dust or of that band when that was like the very maybe it's the second cover that we ever talked about doing. And John and David knew the band, maybe Brian did too, and they were like, okay, they're kind of like um rubbing their hands together because of the bass solo in there. They were a little bit I think they were feeling slightly evil about trying to get me to do that. Um and I was, pretty intimidated, but totally willing to do it. And but point really being that I got turned on to a really very cool band and song that I had knew nothing about through learning how to do the cover. So having had that experience just really inspires me to want to do the same thing for other people with songs that they haven't heard of.
An amazing story because not only you guys are doing this for us, that happened to you as well. So like the you know you're paying it forward.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of been a theme in general of the band, like uh especially with touring and getting uh being treated very well by much bigger bands when we're total nobodies. It's something that we've always tried to uh be very appreciative in the first place of how nice people have been to us, but then we also definitely want to pay that forward to other up and coming bands that maybe we can help out if that's possible at all.
One last question.
And then of course also love. Oh, sorry.
So no,
Also,
go
just
ahead.
love to see when those bands. Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say also. Then upon now I'm started to hear because you can see my beard is gray. So we've been doing this for a while. Obviously, it's a 20-year anniversary. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I'm now hearing about bands that we have, you know, we paid forward the generosity paid to us to them, and now I can see that they're doing the same thing to even smaller up and coming bands of today. So it's definitely gratifying.
That is very rewarding. One last question for you. 20 years of Red Fang, you guys releasing deep cuts. Do you have anything else in store? Are you guys hitting the road in order to celebrate this massive milestone?
We don't have any plans to hit the road anytime soon. We, as of uh, uh, having finished that last European tour in August, we're taking, aside from this release happening, we're taking sort of like a year long ish break from writing and touring, and mostly trying to not even look at tour offers because we'll be too tempted. Uh, so unless something like really crazy comes across the desk, then yeah, we're just kind of laying low and hibernating a little bit, and then we'll reassess probably in September of this year.
All right, Aaron, thank you very much for your time, man. This was an absolute pleasure and honor to speak with you about Red Fang and Deep Cuts. Once again, out March 14th on Relapse Records. Guys, go check it out. There's 26 songs, an hour and a half of music, a lot of things to digest, a lot of things to enjoy. Once again, thank you very much. Congratulations on 20 years of the band.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and congratulations on 30 years of your life.
You're super generous. I wish. I wish. You made my day. You made my day. So, thank you very much. All the best.
All right, take care.